Hello, my name is Fonda Wu. I'm the son of a father, Theodore Yao Zhu. As the last scheduled speaker of the day before the open mic session, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everyone in attendance, especially those personal stories and anecdotes from all of you today. They're very meaningful, heartfelt, and very moving. Some of you have journeyed far to be here, all the way from China, from out of state, or from Pasadena and our surrounding areas. I extend our family's sincerest appreciation to each and every one of you. Theodore Y. Wu, for a span of nearly a century, was a giant in the field of fluid dynamics and a giant of an educator, philosopher, and pioneer. Our father was a man much inspired by nature. He relished being able to use mathematics to explain physical phenomena. As a child, Dr. Wu observed the mechanics of birds and bees in flight and became intrigued with their wing movements. Such caused him to want to understand it through mathematics of lift and forward motion. Flying fish similarly fascinated him and was another of his major research topics over his career. Dr. Wu entered Iowa State University as a young graduate student from China and obtained a Master of Science degree there with a focus on kinetic theory of gases. He continued on to Caltech and received his PhD in aeronautics, applied mechanics, and eventually collaborated in an aeronautics group led by Dr. Theodore von Karman, one of the greatest minds of the 20th century. That group later became Caltech's very notable and distinguished GALSET, which stands for the Graduate Aerospace Laboratories Division of Engineering and Applied Science. In the mid-1960s, as a recipient of the Guggenheim Fellowship, our father packed up the family and took us on a year-long sabbatical to Hamburg, Germany. That sabbatical kickstarted the beginning of a lifelong collaborations with giants such as those of Dr. Sir James Lighthill, the British mathematician, and Dr. George Feinberg, the German fluid dynamicist. Our father would come to remember Drs. Lighthill and Weinberg's incredible generosity and humanity in sharing their knowledge with him, in which he emulated in his own subsequent career as an educator. During our time in Germany, Dr. Wu also picked up conversational German, and for the remainder of his life, loved to shock new and European acquaintances with a random impromptu Wunderschön, Dummkopf, and wie geht es Ihnen? Of everything that our father was, Professor Wu is the title that he relished the most. And that is because of his lifelong stalwartship in the areas of rocket propulsion, hydrodynamics, and fluid mechanics. Dr. Wu's legacy is centered around the very mysterious and fascinating field of solitary waves, commonly known as solitons. Many elite scientists in the field are amongst us today and have studied and researched with Professor Wu. As a scientist and an educator, Dr. Wu traveled all around the globe to lecture, share his knowledge with contemporaries, as well as future generations of scientists. During those visits, Dr. Wu habitually promoted the enlargement of laboratory facilities because he believed that research cannot be done at a small scale, but that to understand natural phenomena and its relevance, one must understand it in real life sizes. And to fluid dynamicists, that meant the oceans, the oceanic scale. Our father often joked that his solitary wave equations would be hard to disprove because of the sheer difficulty in testing it even on a simulated scale. Besides science, our father also had a fondness for fine arts, literature, classical music, and philosophy. For the vast areas of his interest, Dr. Wu was particularly drawn to the theme of excellence arising out of hardship, be that in life or in the natural world. Take, for instance, his favorite composer, Beethoven, and his favorite piece, Symphony No. 9, Ode to Joy. Our father was drawn by Beethoven's ability to compose his best works after having become near entirely deaf, something Dr. Wu also suffered in his old age. Our father also spoke frequently of his admiration for salmon, the king of fish he calls them, and marveled deeply at the sacrifice that salmon endures in their upstream migration to spawn the next generation. I suspect the theme of brilliance through suffering rings close to Dr. Wu's own rise from an inquisitive schoolboy in China to a professor at Caltech. Aside from being a scientist at home, our father also was very much a scientist at home. In his garden in Pasadena, where he and our mother resided for over half a century, there are an abundance of redwoods, pines, magnolias, and Chinese elm trees. Instead of trusting the task of pruning to others, Dr. Wu used mathematical equations and principles of physics to determine precisely the tree limb's center of mass and gravity. Perched on his ladder with a handheld saw, he made cuts so exacting that tree limbs would drop to his meticulously designated locations, not a centimeter off. Dr. Wu, the fluid dynamicist, also applied his expertise to all things related to water in our household, which translated to plumbing. Be it leaky faucets or clogged up drains, no repair was done thoughtlessly. His underground drainage system at home is a Caltech methodized labyrinth of pipework with both slope and flow rates analyzed via the mechanics of water and the properties of physics. To this day, Dr. Wu's house has no drainage issues. In the years after our father's retirement, he continued his tireless efforts to research, collaborate, and publish. He loved the Caltech campus and would go to his office at least once a week, cutting a lone figure moving slowly from his car to the third floor of the Thomas building. A little hunched, glasses perched above the tip of his nose, with a cane in one hand and an armful of research materials in the other. In the last decade or so, he approached his centennial birthday. Our father became enthralled with a Japanese concept of hakuju, which he learned from Dr. Sanao Morishige-san, a fellow hydrodynamicist, colleague at the Ibaraki University in Japan. Hakuju means 99 years old, a milestone that is also called the white birthday. It is called such because the character 100 comprises of the number 1 atop the character of white. Remove the 1, and what is left is the character white. Our father was fond of hakuju because he thought 100 was too full, too much, and too perfect. Instead, he saw beauty in 99. He saw beauty in having enough. As if predestined, he celebrated his white birthday and passed away just 3 months shy of what would have been his 100th birthday, at the very ripe old age of 99, at hakuju, just like how he wanted, and just about perfect. Thank you.
Thank all the speakers, and now I'd like to open the microphone to members of the audience. We have visitors from the Jiaotong University Alumni Association of America, as well as the Chinese Engineering and Scientists Association of Southern California. If you would please step forward at this point, and then anyone else who would like to follow them, please do.